BC Rugby has a 125-year history, a history of success and pride. There's a place for everyone, young and old, boys and girls, one spirit, one team. Some play a small part, some larger, and some, the special ones, they know what it takes to grab onto that history and shake it to its core, inspiring us all. They train for hours, alone, pushed by will, determination, no one watching, no one cheering. They find a way to push a little further, to wring out one more set, one more rep. You know your opponent is training hard, so you train harder. Your biggest threat may not be the opposition, because someone always wants to wear your jersey, to take it from you. What are you prepared to do to keep it? That jersey, that crest, forever bonds you to something bigger, makes you stronger than you could ever be on your own. So you push harder, dig deeper until you have nothing left. Because it's all about the team, those fighting beside you now, and those who came before you. BC Rugby, one spirit, one team.
Hello, rugby fans. I'm Brendan Monroe from BC Rugby. Joining me today is Andy Blackburn. We apologize about getting on to the commentary of their broadcast a little bit late. We were eagerly anticipating the arrival of some BC rosters, as the Eagle Impact Rugby Academy was certainly forthcoming in producing their lineup, but the hometown getting a late kit delivery and some logistics to sort out. Hopefully we'll get that for the second half. But in the meantime, we do have 3 scores that we can mention for Eagle Impact Rugby Academy, and BC trying to get their first points of the game right now as they trail 19-0. And we're about 20 minutes into this match here at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada.
Unfortunately, it's been one-way traffic thus far, but BC now with the first opportunity of the game. Connor Sinclair takes the ball up. Numbers stacked on the left side. And Cole Dreyer there just gets knocked back behind the gain line. And an opportunity on the right here if they look at the numbers. It's a 5-on-2, just fix and pass. A little bit lateral there, Brendan. All he had to do was square up, and the slide defense on the left edge for the Impact Academy recovered really well.
Yeah, they definitely shuffled across into that odd man situation and adapted to some slow passing from BC, able to shut down that opportunity, but BC earning a penalty, so Eagle Impact backed up onto their own try line now.
At this level now, Brendan, 5-on-2 should be executed, 3-on-2 should be executed. It's what you practice on the training field day in, day out. And when those opportunities arise, perhaps 3 or 4 times in a game, you have to take them. As the viewers have seen already, Carter MacDonald, big run there. Always lands on his front, presents the ball. An infringement there by the Impact Academy. And now chance for a quick tap and go, and the referee was in the way.
Our referee today, Scott Johnson, I believe. Sam Khan with the tap.
Good line speed by the Impact midfield. And it's the most promising passenger play yet for BC.
Sloppy in the breakdown, but Khan able to grab it, and once again, the referee's arm is up. A penalty for offside being signaled against Eagle Impact Rugby Academy. Maybe taking a risk of getting a card. I think that's their 3rd offside inside 5 meters in the last 2 minutes.
Again, Carter MacDonald carries well. It's a little bit one-up right now from BC, lacking the shape that the Impact Academy have been showing in the first 20 minutes. Good offload out of the back door. Body position a little bit high, but a wonderful goal line defense. And has he got its ground? Held up.
Well, we saw Teague in there, I believe number 24, is that right?
Ty Andreo, the number 8 today, the Vancouver South player who played last year for the U16s too. Was it Ty who offloaded there?
No, he was the one on the reception with the lovely hands, but came into that contact a little bit high.
But again, great goal line defense. The body position of the Eagle Impact guys, nice and low, able to stop the first attempt, and then when the pick and go happened, able to get underneath and hold the ball up. So good passage of play. It's been 2 or 3 minutes of solid pressure now, and BC need to come away with some points. Preferably a try. I don't think at this stage of the game, in an exhibition game, that the 3 points is what they're looking for.
Well, we didn't have a chance necessarily to set up the game before the match. It was, as I said, a little bit of scramble on the organizational end, but many of these players have met each other on the field before. We had the BC under-16s facing the Eagle Impact Rugby Academy at U16 last summer, and many of the Eagle players back in BC for this under-17s match this year. Very similar lineup, and the core maybe changing a little bit more for BC, but they'll certainly have had familiarity familiarity with Eagle Impact, and it was pretty one-sided in those matches last summer, Andy, that we saw. And so BC will know what to look for coming in. It's a very talented group from Eagle Impact Rugby Academy. It should be a very challenging test for them. And the 19-0 one-way traffic up until this point, certainly similar to what we saw last year.
Again, good line speed from the Impact midfield. BC recovered well here. Spreading the ball to the edges. The left winger does very well, but unfortunately just gets bundled into touch. But a little bit of enterprise there, moving the ball early. Missed pass and just trying to get the ball into the winger's hands. I think so far, Brendan, the US forwards have turned over BC in the contact area, so perhaps a change of tactic is what's required, and maybe that's the message that's come from the bench.
Yeah, we saw the last couple of attacking efforts right in the middle of the field, and giving an opportunity now to the centers and wingers to see what they can do with those exchanges on the outside. But again, good structure and defense from Eagle Impact Rugby Academy. They're obviously very well drilled, and they've been able to stymie the BC attack thus far, so they're trying to run it out of their own end. Still zeros on the board for BC on offense.
Very confident exit set there. A well-taken line out, followed by a drive, a hit up, and then finding Quinn Perry, the big outside centre, to kick the ball downfield and put a little bit of pressure on the BC back three. Don't believe he actually wanted to find touch there. Just wanted to put a bit of pressure on the back three and say, what could you do? And then another turnover results in another Impact try. So smart play. Obviously practicing their exit sets, knowing what they want to do. And as I believe, Quinn Perry looked to just put it into the corner, maybe force the BC guy to take it into touch or counterattack. And the chase was excellent, and the try ensued.
Yeah, Bailey Wilson finishing off the play for Eagle Impact Academy, as it was really a matter of winning that contest and the breakdown, the fullback going back for British Columbia under all kinds of pressure, and the help was very late in arriving, and that allowed Eagle Impact to flood that point of the tackle and pick up a ball that just was sitting there up for grabs. So well executed kick chase, and as you mentioned, Andy, all started with the exit from their own 22 off a lovely couple of plays right out of the training paddock. Good strategy shown there.
Well, it's the confidence to know what you need to do in certain parts of the field at certain times of the game, and when you've withstood pressure for 5 minutes, as the Impact Academy just did very well, you have an opportunity of a line out where BC obviously thought they could maybe get on the outside of the Impact wingers, and then just have the confidence to hit the ball up a couple of times, have your kicker in the deep in the pocket, knowing exactly what he wanted to do, and his chasing wingers on side, and then having wingers who are able to turn over balls so easily and score, just goes to show the resourcefulness of a team like this Impact Academy. And yes, they've scored a couple of tries early on when in the attacking zone, but to be able to go from 80 meters like that just shows how resourceful this team is. A couple of tries earlier from our neighbours over the border there at Chuckanut. Jack Wendell in the inside centre, and Jake Burns, a blindside flanker, notching up a couple of tries. Jack played last year. I believe Jake's new this year. And again, another excellent kick that doesn't find touch but tests the BC fullback. I think that's Julian Foggett.
It is.
Who tries to take the ball out, and there's numbers there for the Impact Academy. Is there going to be another turnover here? Yes, there is. A one-handed pick-up and off the left wing. Number 11, Desi Streeter. And the Impact are back on the attack. Definite a game plan here is to not kick to touch, to not kick possession away, but to kick tactically, and the Chasers know exactly what's happening. Several missed passes, Brendan, that have gone off the left hand there. Haven't quite found their targets today. Otherwise, I believe the Impact would have another couple of tries notched up.
Yeah, you said it, Andy. The passing just a little bit loose in that 15-meter channel between the inside and outside centers, and once they clean that up, you can expect a lot of very strong runs along those wings because they have the space, and right now they're just missing that last pass.
They're using the decoy runners very well in the centres. They're trying to create an overlap for their wingers, but their passes of the left hand, typically not your strong hand. They're not quite finding the targets. I'm sure if the ball was to come the other way, you might see some early ball to the impact left wing. And look at the width right now for the left wing. Don't believe it's been marked there, so there could be something on right now.
Yeah, definitely time to try a cross-field kick. You have points on the scoreboard. They're definitely playing with confidence, and I wouldn't be surprised to see something using the boot here off the back of this scrum.
Taking the defense first to the right and then probably coming back to the left. Here we go.
Well, if they're going to present gaps in the tackle line, you might as well just go straight through it, and that's exactly what Eagle Impact Rugby have done on that occasion.
You have to compress close to the ruck there. Trailing forwards nowadays, big back rowers, strong ball carrying props, they need to be contained, they need to be hit back behind the gain line. They can't be allowed positive yards, and they certainly can't be allowed soft tries. And unfortunately, it's not boding well, Brendan. After last year's results, where I believe there was a 30-point and a 50-point spread, I believe that the BC team would be looking to come in, challenge better than a year ago, and try and contain the scoreline. But right now, coming up to the stroke of half-time at 30 points, it's not looking great.
No, they've had that one opportunity that we saw a few minutes ago where they were inside the 22 for 3 or 4 minutes, not able to get points on the board on that occasion, unfortunately, and it's really been their only time with the ball in this first half. The rest of the territory and possession has been Eagle Impact Rugby Academy, and it's the point of contact that's really been the difference. You mentioned just how many steals that Eagle Impact are getting in the breakdown at the point of contact. They're winning those contests, and that's what's making the difference for them in this game.
And it's not just size and strength. We've always said over the years the US boys are bigger and stronger. What do they eat down there? What's in the milk? It's actually the technical side of the game. Their body position's lower. They're anticipating better. They've got more numbers to the breakdown. It's the rugby bits and bats that they're actually giving the BC boys a little bit of a lesson. But let's hope that the BC team can gel. There was 5 promising minutes. It would have been great for the confidence had they come away with a try, but still chance before half-time to get some points on the board.
And we talked about confidence already and how confidently Eagle Impact are playing. I think that's really all that we need from BC is maybe some points on the board and something to build as we get into the second half. Just an opportunity if they can get a try here to go into that halftime break and say, okay, listen, let's forget about most of the first half and we can reassess our game plan and really just reorganize on defense, because that's where they're losing those battles right now, is when they're defending on the back foot. It seems to be that BC are being pushed over in the point of contact, turned over in the point of contact, and probably a discouraging first half, but they just want to get through it, maybe get some points on the board and go forward the rest of the game.
A little bit lateral, sideways running here, and there's a good chance he's going to get bundled into touch. You've got to straighten up. It's a simple game, rugby. You've got to make the gain line. You've got to run hard. You've got to run to bust the gain line and at least give your forward some front foot ball. And right there, the BC backs were just going laterally from the get-go, and the poor winger they had no chance. Maybe cutting back inside for a switch option would have been an option for sure, but just the basics they've got to get right now.
BC choosing not to contest that line out in the air.
Quinn Perry back in the pocket again. Wow.
Off the hand and
again,
touch.
Forcing the mistakes. I believe he wasn't trying to kick that into touch. It took a bit of a left turn there on the spiral, and then Corbin Bowen, the right winger, who had to think quickly, unfortunately, made an attempt to catch it and then knocked the ball into touch. But it was inconsequential as the referee's blown for the half-time.
So the score at the halftime break, Eagle Impact Rugby Academy 31, BC 0. We'll need a big effort from the boys from BC in the second half, but a chance to review, chat about what was working, and reset as we go into the closing 30 minutes. We'll be back in just a moment for second half action. Please stay with us.
Last time. Good point that you made there, Brendan, just during the half-time. BC treating this as an exhibition game before going on tour to play Ontario in a 3-game test series, where the question begs, should Ontario really be an exhibition game for the US Impact Academy games, who are clearly a couple of levels above right now, at least at the U17 level. Time will tell today whether the case is the same at the U16 and the U18 level.
I think we're just seeing a BC team that hasn't played any games at all together as a group. They come together from high school championships, 15s and 7s. They've trained obviously together. This is the first time they're out on the field in a competitive game this year, and they're playing a very quality side. I think that the pace of the game that they're in and the physicality is something that they maybe just needed to step into, and as we saw right in the first few minutes, it was just a slow start for BC, and they needed to come into the game with just a little more focus and a little more intensity, and they have a lot of work to do, trailing by 31 points to get themselves back into this game.
Well, the Barbarians concept has shown that it's very difficult to throw a team of all-stars together in today's modern age of rugby and be able to compete with teams that play like clubs. The Barbarians is a great concept, but very rarely do they manage to pull off victories now against the likes of England and Australia. But my idea, my suggestion would be, coming from the old country, would be to have a team, a representative team, that would be able to play on a monthly basis throughout the season. So when you come to a crunch match like this, you're not playing together for the first time. You've played in February, March, April, May. You've carved out one weekend a month to be able to play, whether it's BC mainland against BC Island, which is a probables possibles kind of scenario. At least you're working on combinations and you've got players playing at a higher level 3 or 4 times before you come and you play these test matches. Something that needs to be looked at, Brendan.
Well, I think the one positive we can really take away is just what kind of very strong competition that we're getting out of these programs from the United States now. And when you're a selector, when you're an event organizer, and you can see that the Eagle Impact Rugby Academy or the High School All-Americans are willing to travel and come up and play you and offer that contest, it's an absolute no-brainer. The quality is very, very high south on the border these days, and these kind of matches make our BC players better, and it's one of the reasons that we've seen the success that BC has had against other Canadian provincial unions at the National Rugby Championship, National Rugby Festival, and on tours. It's just a bit disappointing to see what it's looked like in the first 30 minutes of this match against a well-drilled, well-prepared side who were ready to go right from the open kickoff.
Well, kudos to the USA Impact Academy for coming out for the second consecutive year, and kudos to BC for taking on the challenge when they're so used to dominating provincial rugby and have done for years, winning numerous gold medals at all age grades, with the only competition realistically being Ontario. It's great that they're thinking outside the box and understand that to develop the game at the grassroots and at the younger age grades, you have to take on these challenges. Lovely line out ball there. Taking the ball to the line, having a go, backing himself, fixes a defender. Lovely step from the big inside centre there, Jack Wendling from Chuckanuck Bay. And that's how you play rugby. You catch, you run hard, you get into open space, you fix the defender, you deliver a soft pass, bit of footwork, score under the try. It's a simple game, Brendan.
Yeah, once that line break was on, it was a matter of executing the big centers you mentioned there. Wendling, I think that's his second try of the match thus far, and he was the beneficiary of a good pass. Once you said sticking the defender last man back, it was very little the defense could do at that point when it was down to the last couple defenders. That first point of contact needed to come a lot sooner, and just not enough intensity in the tackle line, unfortunately, on that play.
But you still got to push for your mate. When you fly half, sees a gap, squares up, takes the hole, you've got to anticipate that, and you've got to be quick in support. And a good inside centre there, right on the shoulder of his fly half, giving him a simple, soft, conventional pass, and then having the confidence to step back inside, dot down under the post, and create an easy 2 points on the conversion. When rugby's played as simple as that, it's a joy to watch. You don't need to overcomplicate it with fancy plays. When there's gaps in the defensive line, or they're staggered, or they're just not quick off the line. The fly half reacted. He played heads-up rugby, what was in front of him. He took the line on, and that was a 50, 60-yard wonderful try. Great take off the restart there.
Acrobatics on display.
Confidence exuding here. Footwork, little step, waiting for his support guys to catch up. Opportunities on the left there, backing himself, doesn't even need to fend, has the pace. It's a masterclass.
Fortunately, BC looking broken on defense as their lines were scattered all over the field, and any kind of weakness being exploited right now by Eagle Impact. Just strong athleticism shown, and they're backing themselves. You saw that play started with just a very powerful run right up the middle.
Well, Quinn Perry, people underestimate the importance of footwork in today's game. I think it's probably the most important thing you could teach a player. Footwork, going into contact, being able to get on the weak shoulder, get over the gain line. Too many guys just plod forward, aim for the chest, get dominated in the tackle. But Quinn Perry, big outside centre, I believe, from California there, did a lovely Polynesian-style stutter step, pushed off his right foot, got on the outside of his defender, put on the burners, through the hole. But rather than just tucking the ball and pinning his ears back, he knew he was going to get tracked down, didn't have the pace to go 60, and he allowed his support to catch up. There was support players on his right shoulder, there was guys on his left shoulder. When he finally offloaded, there was 3 guys who he could have passed to. The support player decided to back himself and went through untouched. It's the basics done well, and that's the result.
Certainly is lovely to watch.
Well, it's going to be tough for the BC boys to get their heads up right now. Body language doesn't look great. Obviously, changes made at half-time, and the defensive structure exposed a little bit weak. Line speed's a worry. Spacing, obviously there was gaps there between the 2 centres in the midfield. And you're right, combinations have not been developed. But, again, at this level, you know, when you're playing as a BC representative player, you know to get off the line. You know to get off the line with either guy either side of you. You know to slide when you need to slide, or blitz when you need to blitz. These are tools that you should have. Same kickoff, same catch again. BC defense compressed here. Opportunity to drive back and maybe counter-ruck, but spots a little break. A little scoot through the middle there.
BC cheating a little bit. No one at pillars and posts on that occasion on the side of the rock.
Nice early ball. Impact spreading the field now. Out the back there, and there's an overlap. Good bit of blitz defense there, I believe, by the BC prop, and there's still numbers on the right edge. Nice dummy, squares up, cuts back to Wonders. Support play, 3 guys here, and it's going to be an easy run into the right corner. And that's the open side flanker there for the Impact Academy. I believe that's Garrett Kay from Jesuit High School. I think a perennial powerhouse in the U.S. school circuit, Jesuit, Brendan.
Doing well to take that pass that was a little bit off target, but settling it in under the arm and finishing off the play. We said in the first half, if they ever get that pass in the channel sorted, it could be one-way traffic, and we're seeing that right now.
Again, I believe it was Quinn Perry there who just adjusted his running line, cut back to Wonders, attacked the soft shoulder, made a break, and then his defence flooded through in supports, and there was options to his left. He actually threw a ball that I don't think was an accurate pass, but it was well taken, and there were numbers either side of the open side flanker. So had he been chased down in the corner, Garrett Kay would have been able to pass inside or outside to his support players. But this is unfortunately looking more like a semi-opposed game for the Impact Academy. You know, I don't know who they're going on to play. I know there's one more game against BC on Saturday, I believe, Brendan, but this could possibly be the pinnacle of their season, and they look like a well-oiled machine that's been playing together all year. So I'd love to know from the US management. Maybe I'll have a chat with my mate Scott Wendlin. He'll give me a little bit of insight into how long these guys have been together. I know last year we were blown away, but they'd only got thrown together in a camp the week prior, because if you look at the team sheet, they come from states all over the USA, so I don't see physically, geographically how they would be able to get together when they're coming from places like Virginia, Utah, Florida, Texas, Washington, Oklahoma, New York, Kansas, Idaho. It's not let's meet up on a Friday night, guys. It's I've got Scott with me over here who's going to give me a little bit of insight.
So it's the same. They came together on Sunday. Yep. They flew into Seattle, and they've just been practicing this week. They do have a winter camp that most of these lads go to down in Arizona over Christmas.
And how long will that winter camp be? A 3-day winter camp. Fantastic, Scott. Thank you for the insight there. So a thrown-together team who are probably playing the same systems and structures, being coached probably on the same page because it is one academy, and they're able to fit seamlessly into a game plan and deliver the kind of performance that we're witnessing today. Shows you, Brendan, it can be done. Something we're going to look at and learn from.
Well, there's definitely models to follow, and right now, whether it's rugby in BC or rugby in Canada, we have to look at what's working successfully in other countries, because we know that right now we're not in a position where we could be and should be, as BC definitely takes care of business within Canada, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Canada at the age grade level or at the international level is getting any better. Some stagnation for sure in terms of the international ranking at the men's senior level. This is a conversation specifically to boys, I would say, and to men. It's a completely different conversation to have when it comes to women from BC and women from Canada who are really leading the world in what they're capable of doing, and ranked in the top 3. Yeah,
right, second right now, yeah, above England.
And so it's a bit shocking to realize just how different the success of the women's programs have been from the success of the men's programs, and what are the women doing so much better than what the men are in terms of getting the results at the international level and all the way down through the age grades as well.
But to put this in perspective, Brendan, the BC team typically would make up half of the Canadian team. So I'd love to see a Canadian team play against this Impact Academy. And to put it again in perspective, the Impact Academy is not the high school All-American All-Stars team. It's just one of numerous academies that seem to be springing up all over the States. So we're not seeing necessarily the best U.S. players. I'm sure in the top 50, 60, the majority of these guys would belong. But there are other academies in the U.S., and I know 5 of their players from last year are playing up at the U18 level, as I believe some of the BC players may be doing so as well. But it's not just a BC dilemma, it's a Canadian dilemma. The BC teams are typically, along with Ontario, the 2 strongest provinces. So, yes, we need to challenge BC and Ontario to play stronger opposition, and this is a good start. But the question is how are we going to get there? How are we going to catch up? How long is it going to take? What do we need to do? Do we have the resources? Line out steal there by the Impact. I think BC win it back, and it's first piece of possession for a while. Penalty now, I would suggest probably sticking in the corner. Back your line out, and let's see what you can do from 10 yards out, Brendan.
That's exactly what they're going to do here, as we see BC enter Impact 22 territory for just the second time today. And that's a good-looking kick towards the corner as well. So that'll position BC very nicely to set up a maul and get that forward pack to work, as they have about 6 meters left to go. And just a perfectly weighted kick to the corner on that last play.
Be interesting to see if the US contest here, or they just are expecting a driving maul.
Great chance for BC to score here. Let's get to work. Short line out. Maul set up very nicely.
Looking good. Oh, there's a gap. Backs himself and
try on.
Try given. Wonderful. Nice little scoot on the right side there by the scrum half.
It was one of the reserve scrum halves as Sam Kahn started the game. I'm not sure who's come on in his replacement at the number 9 kit. But that's BC's first points of the game, and it's been a hard afternoon, and they'll be relieved to have it finally broken through on the scoreboard.
You've got to start somewhere, and no better place to start than a well-worked try there from a good line out, a nice driving maul, and the scrum half played a bit of heads up, saw a gap, backed himself, probably beating a prop on the right edge, and managed to get low enough to score the try. So equaled the try tally from the last 2 games last year, where I believe BC were only able to notch to 1 try in 2 games against US Impact. Is that correct, Brendan?
That's correct. They were able to score at the U16 level 1 try over 2 matches, and they have their first try of this 2-game series with 20 minutes still left to play.
So again, come Saturday with a few more days in camp, BC will be looking to improve on this performance. And I'm sure a couple more days in camp together, they will have discovered a lot about each other, and the coaches will have some interesting selection decisions to make. They'll be aware of their opposition now, where their strengths lie, and they'll be able to develop a game plan to give them a better chance of a closer result on Saturday.
I think when they go back and look at that play as well, they'll take a lot of positives from it, as that forward pack really went to work quite well there. They haven't had a lot of opportunities in the set pieces, and they executed really quite nicely off that driving maul. They haven't had too many times where they can use that forward pack, and even though they're maybe a little bit smaller in that forward pack group, they did very nicely there to get the 5 points.
A little bit static around the fringes here. People not taking the ball at speed, taking the ball standing still, and consequently not getting over the gain line. Got to be taking the ball at speed. Timing's a little bit off, and there's an unforced error. The referee deems it went backwards. Not so sure about that. Better run there. Good fend. Wasn't tackled, so allowed to keep going. Struggling to exit their own 22 here, but keeping the ball in hand. Maybe a change of tactic here before they get turned over.
Good thought, but Bowen not able to get his hands out to that offloaded pass.
I'd like to think he knew there was a penalty there being awarded, so he threw caution to the wind, made a half break, passed the ball out of his left hand there, and if it had come off, his winger would have been away down the tram lines, and now a good chance to clear your lines and play the game in the US Impact half.
I think that's the first time from BC that they've really looked to step through that half gap and try the offload. And it's looking better from BC in the last 5 or 6 minutes. They have points on the ball or on the board. They seem to be going forward with a little more intention.
Well, you've got to run in 2s and 3s, and you've got to have targets, and nobody really puts their hand up for the ball right now, so people are catching the ball standing still. You've got to be taking the ball closer to the gain line just to make the hard yards, to get some front foot ball, and a little bit too much depth from the trailing forwards, and not sure if they really want to be taking the ball into these big US defenders, but that's what's needed. Better shape there, some room out wide. Corbin Bowen's going to back his pace here, gets on the outside of his opposite man, and now he needs to draw the early pass. Good chip ahead. Is it too deep, or is it still in the in goal?
It is ruled dead in goal.
Very enterprising play, though. Corbin Bowen, who's a 7th star on the BC circuit, again used his footwork, got on the outside of his man, made the half break, gave the ball early. And the idea of the winger kicking the ball ahead was a good idea, just the execution wasn't as good as he'd liked it to have been.
It wouldn't have taken much for that ball to bounce just a little bit differently for BC, and they could have got their second try in the last 5 minutes. But definitely electrifying run from Corbin Bowen. He can be very exciting with ball in hand. It's nice to see him in the open field doing exactly what he needed to there.
Well, getting came in off the left wing there, Brendan. So, I mean, he actually is looking for work, trying to provide the mismatch. So great that he would come off his wing on the left side and then make a break down the right side. Good fence, strong run back towards his forwards. Slow ball low. Again, not running as hard as they need to, but I think that could be Vaughan. And some penalties going the BC way there, not releasing by the Impact Academy. This is a good spell, Brendan.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed what I've seen from BC in the last 6 or 7 minutes. They're showing a lot more confidence. Obviously, it was a little late in coming in this game, but it shows well for the end of this match. Just held in touch there. BC possibly scoring a try, though, on the mishandle.
I think he was already in touch, so he'll be brought back for the line out, 5 or 10 meters out. So another opportunity, a similar similar spot on the field to where BC scored their first and only try. There was 5 minutes in the first half with similar pressure, which didn't result in a try, and it's nice to see that BC are able to put some sustained pressure together and then come away with a second try. Again, these are the small victories that they'll need to build on going into the last game on Saturday.
Unfortunately, we won't be here to broadcast that game on Saturday, but the two teams do meet once more here at the University of British Columbia. And should our U17 boys score here and maybe finish on a strong positive note, that bodes very well for the reset scoreline 0-0 on Saturday morning.
Early ball there now. Looking to move the ball wide. Numbers slow to the breakdown, but BC still have the ball. Good step back inside. Strong run there by the BC 10. Great try.
Fantastic. And that just builds on what they've been doing for the last 7 or 8 minutes, showing just more confidence in the ball carrier and better support lines being run. And you can tell they're working harder as a group as well. So getting their eye in the game. It's sometimes like when you're watching a cricket match and a batter struggles for the first little while, but then really seems to figure out the bowler and just starts swinging away. And that's what BC's doing right here. Obviously, they don't have the run rate to
Brendan, was
make
this
the
analogy for
required
my
total.
benefit? Are you telling me you're the first ever Canadian who's told me that they watch cricket?
I've played cricket. I've done a little bit of writing for the Wisden Cricketer magazine in my journalism experience, and I'm sometimes disappointed in Cricket Canada's results on the international arena, as anyone who follows Canadian cricket would be. But yeah, I would definitely mention my name as a fan of Canadian cricket.
You could have knocked me over with a feather there, Brendan. But a lovely opportunistic try there from the BC 10. Not quite sure the name of the 10. As Brendan said earlier in the broadcast, we haven't been given the full team roster for BC. So some of the players we know, but it was a wonderful opportunist try from the BC 10, who I'm assuming maybe playing fly half, but I've also seen the 25 playing at 10 as well. So the numbers not reflecting the positions on the field.
So BC now outstripping their score total against Eagle Impact Rugby Academy in 2 matches last year, in this one game here, at least.
Numbers
on
to the right
offensive
here.
side.
Nice little chip ahead by the right winger, keeping the ball alive, and as a result, line out to BC 30 yards up the field. So good enterprise there, throwing caution to the wind. You're not going to win the game at this stage, so you may as well have a go. And BC coming into their own. This has been a very good 15 minutes for BC, and if they can keep this up, they'll have something to really take positively into the next game with them.
Absolutely. They have they've looked really good in the last 15 minutes. I'd have to say that Eagle Impact have been on the back foot. They're being reactionary in that last play. They were chasing the ball hard. They ran out of options. Their fullback just having to poke that one into the touch, as they had nothing else in terms of support. And BC pressing forward off the line out, but it's taken by Eagle Impact Academy and looking to run it back the other way.
Weak tackling, high tackling there. Just penalty given though to BC.
What is the call?
I can't imagine what it would be. If it was for a handoff to the face, the poor guy had to protect himself because there was no attempt at tackling him anywhere below his neck. Interesting call there by Scott Johnson. It won't be the first interesting call I've seen Scott make. Nice little tip-on pass there by Vaughan, the number 23. Playing with more confidence, running again in pairs and threes. The ball control a little bit sloppy, but able to retain possession there. Maybe the US getting talked to for some persistent infringements here. What do you think, Brendan? Either that or Scott's feeling the heat and he could do with a well-earned break.
Yeah, I don't see too much untowards from Eagle Impact. Obviously, the referee's a lot closer to the point of contact, but
a penalty move. Strong carry by Vaughan, the Fraser Valley East back row forward. Utility player Vaughan, he could play front row, back row. Was quite the standout at the PRCs that occurred a couple of weeks ago at Burnaby Lake, playing for the Fraser Valley East, and has been in the BC side for a couple of years.
Referee's arm up once again. This time looks like a knock on.
I wonder how much the subs for the US Impact have changed their shape and chemistry, or how much because they were 48 points up that they took the foot off the gas, or is it because BC are finally gelling and finding the combinations and playing the style of game they need to play, that they're having some dominance in these last 15-20 minutes, Brendan?
I think it's probably a combination of both those factors. I think some of those really heavy runners from Eagle Impact have been subbed out of the game, and with those threats removed, BC maybe feel just a little more confident to attack the defensive line, and they're finding a few more holes than they were able to in the first half. And once they've got a couple of go-forward balls breaking the gain line, they know that they can do it. They're trusting the man to their left and right just a little bit more, and that's paying off for BC, who unfortunately have conceded a penalty on this occasion after having earned the last 3 or 4.
If they can just keep the Impact scoreless for the remainder of the game and possibly not another try, this would be seen as quite the improvement on last year.
Well, it'd be an improvement on last year. It'd be a night and day different result from last year, certainly, but just over the first half, yeah. I think that we've seen the score line. What would it be? 18, 28,
29-0 at the half, I believe, Brendan.
Yeah. So the Eagle Impact Rugby Academy slowing down a little bit in the second half, and BC speeding up, and it shapes up nicely for a rematch on Saturday.
Strong carry, good fend. Keeping the ball alive, two-hand support there in numbers. Should have looked to his left there. Finally gets the ball. That needs to work a little bit harder to score in the corner. I believe that was the number 7 who dotted down there, Brendan. Is that correct? Second try of the game there for Garrett Kay.
Yeah, that's right. Garrett Kay with the second score. And
poor guy had his hand up there screaming for the ball earlier. Didn't get it the first time, got it the second time. But like any good open side flank, quick to support.
Right as we talked about BC winning the battle in the second half, of course, Eagle Impacts, or the broadcaster's curse, make us look bad very quickly by scoring a try in the corner.
So I think I just jinxed them, Brendan, unfortunately. I apologize to the BC players and staff.
That's all right. I'll accept the apology on behalf of the team. It's 54. Check that, 53 now on the board for Eagle Impact Rugby Academy. A conversion upcoming. And it's been their day from start to finish, with the exception of about 15 minutes in the three-quarter area of the game.
4 or 5 of these tries could have been stopped simply by BC players making their first up tackles. Yeah, simple game, as we said earlier. You know, you've got to run hard, you've got to support, and you've got to tackle. And on a couple of occasions, I've seen some weak tackling, some shirt grabbing, just not putting yourself in a position to be able to put your shoulder in and put a stick on your opposite number. And again, all too easy from 40, 50 yards out. Yes, a bit of footwork, but you got to have the numbers compressed around the ball carrier, so if he does step inside, your inside man's got him. And that's all about communication with your inside defender, holding space, getting off the line, putting a bit of pressure. But the US Impact have been allowed to run at the BC defenders, and it's not been quite the same when BC have had the ball. They've had USA defenders in amongst them, breathing down the necks.
Well, you talk about trying to make a tackle by putting your foot in a hoop, imagining a hoop around the ball carrier. And if your foot is not in that spot and you're not leaning from a point of contact close to the ball carrier, you're always going to be reaching, and the contact point is always going to be a little too far away from the center of mass. And it leads to those one-handed tackles. It leads to those shirt grabs. And that just might be a matter of BC adjusting to the speed of Eagle Impact and adjusting their footwork to match the ball carrier's footwork. It's a game of evasion, and BC not quite able to adapt to that footwork from Eagle Impact in this game, and like you say, resulting in some less than strong tackles. But that's something they can clean up. That's something they can look at the game film later on and see that those tackles are coming from a little bit too far away. But they just need to do more of that right there, where the tackle comes in strong, right close to the body, bringing the ball carrier down to ground.
Bang on, Brendan. It's all about footwork. Again, 2 tackle bust, 3 tackle bust, driving his legs. Good from football. Now an opportunity to move the ball wide. Nice little soft pass. Good break, good fend. Backs himself, another good fend. And he keeps the ball alive, and that's a wonderful one-handed pass. And that's a great try, and that's a hat-trick, I believe, for the US Impact open side flanker Garrett Kay, and possibly the try of the game.
Yeah, that was absolutely electrifying as we saw that play.
Look at the goosebumps down my arms there, Brendan.
As a broadcaster, you like to see exciting plays, and we were treated to a few of those today, but that's certainly the most exciting try that we've seen so far. The Eagle Impact Rugby Academy have always had points in them in this match, but they're earning them in style right now.
They found another gear, Brendan. They got a little bit miffed that BC had got back on the scoreboard twice, and they've just got back into, I would probably say it's their 3rd or 4th gear, not even their 5th gear. But the ability to get on the outside of the man, use a strong fend twice, realised the support wasn't there, backed himself to go, hit the deck, but then kept the ball in a vice-like grip with the ball on his forearm, and the ability to be able to throw a one-handed offload, spin it up in the air long enough for a support player to reach it. That's stuff that has to be practiced. It's not just skill that I learned today. It's a little bits and pieces in the game now where you practice those scenarios, and when you're in a game-like situation, they come off like that, you'll talk about them for years to come.
We've talked about being able to do things that don't require skill in terms of just showing up, putting in the work rate, doing all the stuff off the ball. Those things don't require skill, but something like that offload certainly does, and that skill executed to perfection. We've seen that that offload become more and more standardized in the toolkit of top-end rugby players. And we're dealing with, as you said earlier, some of the most talented players in North America at this age group right now. So we're expecting them to have some tricks up their sleeve, and a beautifully executed offload setting up that wonderful try from Eagle Impact Rugby Academy.
But again, several players pushing through for the mate there in close support. So again, that offload means nothing if you don't have players screaming, I'm on your right, I'm on your left. And that's been a trait of the Impact Academy today. Whenever there's been a break, there's been numerous support players flooding through. A little bit of a breakdown in skill there for the first time by the open side flanker. An uncharacteristic mistake. Just needed to cut back inside on the unders line, time his pass, and just got the timing a little bit wrong. Otherwise, it would have been a 2-on-1 down the 15-meter channel there.
And we've seen BC's defense scrambling over into that 15-meter channel time and time again. And for the most part, the Eagle Impact Rugby Academy have made them pay, as they were just really able to move the ball from side to side quickly. They're attacking all areas of the field. The only thing we haven't really seen them do in a while is kick to space and chase after it. But as far as making the passes and carrying it and running great lines, they're doing just that.
Well, for me, potential man of the match, there's been several on the Impact team that you could mention. The fly half for sure has done a great job there. Justin Peterson, number 10 from Coastal Dragons. But the open side flanker scoring a hat-trick there, Garrett Kay. Last year there was a similar chap, I believe, is injured. Scott Wendling tells me he tore his Achilles, and he was the man of the match along with the couple of bookend props that they had playing last year. That was, I think, David Inui, who's been moved up to the U18s, and I believe the other prop, Doug Mitchell's out there today. But the number 7 who's replaced the standout player last year, Garrett Kay from Jesuit High, California, for me, just with his support and his work rate, has probably been the man of the match.
Yeah, I would agree with that conclusion as well. We'll give honorable mention to John Wendling, the center, who's had a strong game. But it's been a strong showing from all of the Eagle Impact Rugby Academy players, especially on offense, and their defense has looked pretty good in this game too.
Yes, Jack Wendlin there, a close second. I couldn't give it to Jack because his dad stood right next to me, and that looked like a bit of nepotism there. As Scott's giggling away there. Good footwork again there. Good offload. Numbers in support. Opportunities left and right. Again, keeping the ball alive, looping around to 2-on-1, just didn't look, cut back inside to his support, backing himself, weak defending. Can he pop it up here or just recycle? And there's numbers left and right again. BC defense is scrambling. Little scoot